Yo, what's up, guys? Chimp here, and I want to do a really quick market update. Probably keep this a little bit on the shorter side. Um, Before I start, I want to say I got a request to talk about ETH specifically, and I don't think I'm going to have time to sort of lay out the midterm bull thesis on ETH BTC at the levels that it's at, but I will try to address that at a future video. But I want to first start by just talking about stocks, and let's just pull up the chart of the Nasdaq. It's about 3 to 4 hours from markets opening. And sorry, my internet's like acting up a little bit. And where should I start? I want to first start by talking about something that a lot of people have tried to do and rather unsuccessfully, which is predict where the stock market is going to go. And when you look at the stock market, you have a lot of very intelligent players out there. You got the Citadels, you got the Two Sigmas, you got the Millennium, etc., 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 who are much smarter players. Like a retail person looking at a stock market chart and trying to understand where all the inflows and outflows and everything is coming from, it's just not fruitful in my opinion. And there's two times where that was really proven to me. The first one was the COVID crash. And I guess the daily chart is not, probably is enough to get back to the COVID crash, but the slow internet, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. So we had the COVID crash, and this was supposed to nuke everything. And instead, like, we ended up getting all the stimulus and markets pumped, but a big component of that was also passive. And that's something that's sort of like the first time I don't know if I used the word humbled, but it really taught me, like, okay, there's something going on here that just doesn't make sense. And then the second time, and I would say the more important time, was like what we've seen in the last 2 years. People said that as long as the Fed was doing QT and we had rates at 5%, markets couldn't pump. But then Nasdaq literally doubled, right? And I think this comes from, and so what does this show you? It shows you that like a single source narrative is not sufficient justification for this market. Like one retail individual sitting here reading a single source headline or trying to make determinations of what the market's going to do based off of a very basic heuristic is probably not going to work. And so when you try to trade crypto by trying to predict the stock market, you like when it comes to like making predictions, typically, like, see if I can do this or if it's going to be too big of a pain in the ass, typically you have like, a variable X and you're trying to predict some sort of variable Y. Like let's say in this case, Y is like BTC price, right? And then there's some sort of noise here. So I don't know, add some sort of noise coefficient, probably not the right one. Let's say like epsilon or something. You typically want to know like what the ground truth is here. You want to have a pretty decent idea here. But like when your measurement of X is more noisy than your measurement of Y, like you're not going to get any prediction here. And so my recommendation to people is like try not to come up with a predictor based off something that you can't, like, don't try to predict Bitcoin's price based off the Nasdaq if you're not able to sufficiently accurately predict what the Nasdaq's going to do. The way I like to think about these TradFi markets in general is like they whipsaw, and I can't control that, but their whipsawing does have an impact on Bitcoin, and I can measure that and make a decision on what I want to do based off that whipsaw. So for example, when the Nasdaq dumps to 16,000 or whatever, and I can go and look at Bitcoin and say, hey, this market's super deleveraged in the mid 70s, like maybe this is a long, right? Those are the types of things you want to think about. Now, did I take that trade and play it perfectly? No, like really far from it actually. But those are sort of things you want to think about. Or like, hey, the Nasdaq's been climbing like crazy. Bitcoin's like just chilling, like people are building up leverage, like maybe I want to get out because if there is a down day, maybe crypto flushes. So those are the sorts of things you want to think about. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just sort of giving my thought process of how I think about, TradFi. The second topic I want to talk about is gold. And gold's been on this miracle run, right? Gold was trading at 2,400 when I think it was 2,400 when Trump was elected. No, maybe it was 20. Let's see, when was Trump elected here? I guess 2,600. It's now at 3,400. To me, this is at the same time stocks are going down, and I think this is like the narrative here that you want to pay attention to, which is not every asset has to be correlated to every other asset. More specifically, everyone in crypto kind of likes to look at stocks. And the argument is like, hey, everything's correlated to stocks. If stocks crash, everything else is going to crash. No, stocks, like there's a lot going on with stocks, right? Like stocks are subject to flows that other asset classes aren't. For example, people retiring sell stocks, right? Less retirees probably have gold that they're selling. And gold is a global asset, right? You could be in any which country, you could be some sort of central bank, etc., and decide, screw it, I don't trust the dollar anymore. I want gold. And I think that's the narrative that's going on with gold. Like I think there's a narrative building which is dollar-based assets are less trustworthy because of various reasons, because of, the Trump administration, whether you agree or disagree with them politically, because of, rampant US debt, because of the US central bank's, preference to ease anytime there's any sort of trouble, right? All these reasons, and US just like losing strength in sort of the global markets. And so this just shows you there's money out there that's buying things. They might not be buying stocks, or those flows might be offset by retirees selling and companies issuing shares, etc., but they're buying. And so the question is like, ultimately, is Bitcoin more like a stock or Bitcoin more like gold? And I think Bitcoin has some correlation to stocks, like especially, with ETF, and there might be some correlation trades there. But I think like in terms of who the majority of Bitcoin holders are, it's a younger crowd that's not going to be shaken as easily. So with that being said, let me talk quickly about Bitcoin. Where are we? Okay. We had this three drives bottom at the lows. And I posted about this a while ago. If you go to my Twitter. We had this three drives bottom at the lows. 1, 2, and 3. And the market, and like almost like perfectly or like clockwork, the market ended up bottoming. And so we pumped. We sort of set a higher low here at 79. We pumped again, we consolidated, and now we pumped again. Question is like short time frame, what are the risks? Mid time frame, where do I think we're going? Long term, where do I think we're going? So let's talk short time frame. I think short time frame is a little bit harder. I want to show you sort of my thought process both ways. And so like if you're 100x leverage long, or let's say not say 100x because it's so extreme. Let's say like 20x leverage long, are you safe or not? But if you're like midterm bullish, are you safe or not? Those are two sort of separate questions. Low time frame, I could see any which way happening. Like this is what I'm pretty sure of. I'm pretty sure of the 74 low is safe. I could see a scenario where we go back down, hunt this level, take out some longs, especially since we've sort of been chilling here for a week or two, and then pump. And the big reason for that is what I'm going to show here, which is open interest. Open interest is now up, like over 10,000 units. If you look at the lows and where it was, it's up about 12 to 14,000 units. So very possible this open interest wipes. We get a flush, and you get a buyable dip. Now, what would I look for in that buyable dip? I'd look for this open interest to reset back to like the low 70s, in which case I'd like probably slam. If you get this coupled with like some of the coins like Fartcoin giving up a lot of its gains and so forth, I think it's a pretty easy buy. But on the flip side, like, we've been sort of flirting with this resistance for like a month. I could definitely see this breaking out and, there being massive seller exhaustion as well. What do I lean towards? I lean towards that it's seller exhaustion and that we end up trending up. But that risk of one last pullback is there. So I guess to summarize my thoughts, with Bitcoin specifically, short time frame, I think low is in, but think we could go as low as 80 or 79 or something. Like that's probably possible. Um, but there's by no means guaranteed. So like if you're 20x long, you could be liquidated. But I think if you get that dip, it's buyable. But I think there's a very real chance also we just rip up from here. And I think mid time frame we rip up. Like if we dip, it's gonna rip, right? So like if you close your eyes and you ask like what's the price of Bitcoin like May 20th, I think it's gonna be significantly higher from here. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. I want to spend the next video talking a little bit about ETH specifically, but given it's like a longer topic, I want to sort of write out some notes and really talk about it rather than sort of rush something out today. So stay tuned for that. Um, Again, if you guys want to see anything, write a comment. If you guys like the video, just leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But yeah, if you want me to talk about anything, please leave a comment. I might go into more details about certain topics just for fun, things that I've sort of learned throughout the years, ways I like to think about the market. But I'm sort of just doing this because fun. I'm enjoying it. So as long as people enjoy it as well, probably going to keep it up. So anyways, guys, thank you for listening. And until next time, take care.